call to order the September 15th, 2021 meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. We'll start with introductions. Nick, if you will.
Nick Codner, Building Inspector and Zoning Administrator.
David Armstrong, alternate member.
Brendan O'Brien, voting member.
Neil Dunn, voting member.
Jackie Bernard, voting member.
Suzanne Brunel, voting member.
Irene Macarelli, alternate member.
Just a quick coverage of how the meetings progress. The clerk, Brendan, you're the clerk tonight?
I am.
We'll read the case into the record. The applicant will come up and sit down typically at the desk in front of us and make their presentation. From that, the board will ask any questions or concerns they have. After that, we'll go out to the audience and we'll look for people in favor and people opposed, and then the applicant will have a chance to answer any questions or concerns. If you come up to speak, please go to a microphone, state your name and your address. All conversation comes through the board. It's not between the audience and the applicant. It's the board's review and perusal here. If you have a cell phone, would you please either turn it off or put it on vibrate? And you're welcome to stay for the deliberations. What happens after all the presentation's made and everybody's had a chance to speak for or against, it comes back to the board. We go into deliberations. When we're in deliberations, public testimony, so to speak, is stopped. Occasionally, we will come out for clarification. And you can stay for the decision or call the planning department in the morning if you really wanted to. I guess that covers most of that. I guess the first order of business is the minutes. We have 2 packs of minutes since we didn't have enough people last week, so we'll start with the minutes from 6/16/2021.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from June 16th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So let's see, who was here then? It was myself, Brendan, Bill, Irene, Dave. Are those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Actually, I guess that's the clerk. Respectfully. Oh. We must be changing forms. This one looks different. Does that one say motion made by?
It does.
Okay, so this one's similar to, all right. And regarding August 18th, 21 meeting minutes,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the August 18th, 2021 meeting minutes.
so Jacqueline was here, Suzanne
I will
was,
second.
Mitch was, Irene, and David were both here. Do I have a vote? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstained because I wasn't here and
I
you weren't
abstained
here. So that's minutes passed. And we can have- Oops, sorry, Jackie, did I give you a paper cut? Nope. I don't know if this is a folder.
Yeah, I think that's the general meeting folder. Thank you.
Any town council report? Liaison? I don't see anybody here. We'll go to regional impact determinations. The planning board have anything on that?
We have 3 cases for your consideration. The first is case number 9/15/2021-1, request for a special exception pursuant to LZO 5.15.1 for a portable storage structure, 1 Burbank Road, map 2, lot 29B-4, zoned AR1, Timothy Sherrado, owner and applicant. Case number 9/15/2021-2, request for a variance from LZO 4.1.2 use table to allow a restaurant in the industrial 2 zone, which is otherwise prohibited, 104 Harvey Road, map 14, lot 12, zoned industrial 1, Manchester Airport Authority owner and Melissa Donato applicant. Case number 9/15/2021-3, request for a variance from LZO 4.2.1.3.B.1 to allow a lot with 50.28 feet of frontage where 150 feet of frontage are required. 10 Sheridan Drive, map 16, lot 42-4, zoned AR1, the Gardaki Family Trust owner and applicant. Staff recommends that the board find that these three projects are not developments of regional impact as they do not meet any of the criteria set forth by the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the regional impact determination.
Second?
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None accepted. Case number 72120, 720, was it 21-2021-2?
Okay.
And I guess they're probably tied together as 721-21-3.
Do you want me to read them together?
We read those in already before.
I'd read
Read-
them again, just because it's a new hearing, and there will be a new motion on it.
Okay. Case number 721-2021-2, a request for a variance from LZO 4.3.3.b to reduce the required 33% green landscaping area to 11% with the addition of an 8-foot by 12-foot extension to the existing patio, 103 Nashua Road, map 6, lot 35-17, zone C1, Rivard Pizza LLC owner, and Renegades Pub North America, or Renegades Pub North applicant, which was continued from the August 18th, 2021 meeting. And case number 721-2021-3, a request for a variance from LZO 4.3.3.A.1 to encroach 32.2 feet into the 60-foot front setback for the addition of roll-up/down plastic barriers on an existing patio, 103 North Nashua Road, map 6, lot 35-17, zone C1, Rivard Pizza LLC owner and Renegades Pub North applicant. Both cases were continued from the August 18th, 2021 meeting, and I have to recuse myself from both of them.
I do as well.
So in that case, I'll appoint Dave and Irene as alternate members, as voting members, who'll be presenting.
How do you do? I'm Christopher Drescher, an attorney with Cronin, Bisson, and Zielinski. Since we don't have a full board, is it possible to continue again?
That's always your option because you do not have a full board, yes?
I think, well, we discussed it with our clients as well as the engineer and stuff, and we probably think that's a good idea. Take another stab at it, see if we can get a full board next month.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to continue?
To October 20th is the next date.
So anybody in the audience is here for that case. The next date for it will be October 20th of 2021. There will not be another notice in the newspaper. So this serves as a notice for that continuance meeting.
But you do need to make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to grant the request for continuance to October 20th for case number 721-2021-2 and 721-2021-3.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Do we have a motion sheet for that?
You don't, I don't think there's one in there. You don't need one. I have that.
Okay. Be in the record, the permanent file.
All set?
Continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
Case number 9/15/2021-1, a request for a special exception pursuant to LZO 5.15.1 for a portable storage structure, 1 Burbank Road, map 2, lot 29B-4, zoned AR1, Timothy Serrato, owner and applicant.
Who will be presenting?
Evening, everybody. Timothy Serrato, 1 Burbank Road, so applicant here.
So generally speaking, you can do a quick rundown on what the thought is and then go through the 5 points of law. Do you have their
It's a special exception.
special exception? So we go through the checklist he doesn't have, we have. All right,
Questions.
okay. Did you want to give a brief discussion on it?
Yeah, so I was able to find a storage container down near Boston. that had been used for some time for storage, but was in need of some renovations on the front side of it. It had been converted into a shed. So last year, early September, I purchased this with intentions to use it as a shed to store my lawnmower, winter tires, power tools, all that fun kind of shed type stuff. Upon purchasing it, I renovated the front face where doors would traditionally be for a container. So this is an 8.5 by 20 foot storage container. The traditional metal doors have been removed and replaced with French doors and cedar siding. So I'm able to pull the lawnmower in and out through the French doors, lock it just like you would with a shed. And I have this kind of recessed off the side of the driveway on the tree line. So it's, you can see in the photos, not very noticeable from the driveway or the road, but from the backyard you can see the French doors and cedar front.
So there, I noticed when I drove by, there was a storage container looking at up your driveway from the road that was off to the right. That's not it?
Oh, that is it. Yes.
Because I didn't see the wood and all that on it. So that must have been on the other facing side you can't see from the street?
Yes, on the front facing side with the doors.
I have one question for Nick. Is that considered a structure, Nick?
Yes, it would be.
And it looked like there was wetland next to it, so is there any, I didn't see anything in any of the submittal that would reference whether that's within the setback or not, or if that's been looked at?
I haven't looked at it. I don't know if it is or not.
How far does your property line go?
The property-
Side towards the water pond down the hill?
Yeah, pass across the pond to the road. So it's a weird, somewhat corner lot around Burbank. So Burbank comes in, makes a 90-degree turn, and I have about 1.6 acres. So the pond is on my property line. And I don't know how accurate it is, but I did look at the GIS maps and the water boundary that was there. And it is kind of far away from that, closer to the house.
So you don't have an estimate how far it is from what is
oh.
considered the official wetland?
So based on this map right here, it's approximately, with those shaded wetland areas, I'd say it's approximately 75 feet from the pond and about 130 feet from the road.
Anything from the board?
I have a question. So you're looking for a special exception for a portable storage structure, but you're trying to make it a permanent structure. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd like to keep it permanently.
So back to Nick, if I may, does he have to put in substantial footings for it because it's larger than a 12 by 12 shed, or the ordinance is a little vague on a whole lot of stuff there.
Only if it's over 400 square feet do we require frost protection. But he will have to put it on some kind of blocks or stone.
Yeah, and it is on stone today.
And you didn't have in your presentation, you didn't have the height, you just said standard height, and the height limit's 10 feet. Do you know what your standard height is?
Yeah, I believe interior height is approximately 8 feet, exterior height's approximately 9 feet.
And do we include any gravel or blocks that it sits on in the height?
I suppose it would be from grade, correct?
And you're just sitting on the gravel there? It wasn't hard?
Yes.
I
Yep.
didn't want to pull in your driveway because I,
Oh, no worries. No, it's sitting on the gravel, and I have small flat stones that it's resting on as well.
anything else from the board? Oh, hold it, I needed to point another alternate to vote on this one, I'm sorry. We'll go with Dave to start.
Okay.
And then you'll do the next case, Irene. Nothing more from the board at this point?
Nothing for me.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor of? Against? Having questions? Back to the board. Nothing? Looking over the checklist that we tell them to answer no to. Why are we telling them to answer no?
What's that?
Why are, on the application sheet, the exception sheet, are we telling them to answer no? Shouldn't they be answering?
Well, I think it's that they need to answer no in order to get it.
So what do you
Well,
think they're
you
going to
must
put for
answer
an
no
answer?
to questions 1 through 9.
But in order to get the special exception, you must answer no. I mean, If you can't answer no, then you're not going to get the special exception, or you could apply for a
Well, it
variance.
almost sounds like guidance. It seems a little strange to me that would tell me, answer no, and maybe, I don't know.
Well, they-
If it's at all helpful, my interpretation of that on the kind of resident side was that I don't even have an opportunity to fill out the form if I was answering yes to any of those questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that's the intent, it looks kind of bizarre to
Yeah.
me. It's almost like guiding them through the process to, that's all, I was just curious, because that's a new addition, isn't it, or fairly new?
Well, I mean, the special exception form is new within,
Well,
since it's been adopted. But if the board wants to, I can absolutely change it.
We'll pay, you could have the discussion at the end. All right, so no more questions from the board?
I don't have questions.
Okay, we'll go into deliberation, thank you.
Cool. Appreciate your time.
So we have a portable storage structure
Right.
that has been altered to look like a shed, but is going to go in under a portable storage structure
But it's gonna be permanent.
special exception.
Doesn't make sense.
There's nothing in this ordinance that says it has to be temporary.
So is that a question for Nick?
No, I
Oh, okay, I didn't know,
It's just kind of contradictive that it says it's a portable unit. And
Yeah.
It's gonna be a permanent unit. Doesn't really make sense to me.
unfortunately, that's what it says. We had a previous discussion on how did this ever pass, but that's irrelevant.
So I guess for the record, from zoning's perspective, the guidelines in which we are instructed to use are not clear enough so that we can properly assess the ordinance as it's written. So Nick, if he's no longer portable and he's permanent, and the applicant has expressed it will be permanent, it is not portable any longer.
It is still an industrial storage, portable storage container. It's just that he's considering it to be a permanent structure, but in reality, it is still a portable storage container. And you can put restrictions on it as far as time that he can have it. It's up to you to decide.
I think we did that on the last one. We put
Well, the
a,
last one made sense, because the gentleman was using it to store materials, then
Exactly.
I was moving,
and
clearing out.
we did put a time restriction on the last
Yes.
one.
We did.
But I think we talked about this exact problem, that
Yep.
if someone comes and says, I want to keep it forever, we have no ability to stop that.
Sense to me.
So right now, where the container is located, it's heavily wooded. And, I mean, if we use some common sense, say the applicant moves and, or puts it up for sale, I mean, it can always, since it is a portable storage unit, maybe potential buyers say, get it out of there, you know what I mean? So maybe that's the nuance here. Because our ordinance specifically says that it must be maintained and not be deteriorating. Well, Nick, we don't police those, correct? For deterioration and,
No, it would have to come to our attention if some of the neighbors are complaining about a deteriorated, ugly container.
okay.
But no, we don't drive
Yeah,
around
you
town.
don't, okay. So I guess if we keep that in mind, I mean,
You know, I don't know. I think this probably needs to be reviewed.
Well, that seems as good a time as any. I mean, it's specific, so when title to the property changes hands, the portable storage structure needs to be removed.
but again, no one's going to police that.
If someone
So-
complains, that's the only way.
Change the legality of putting the restriction on there.
We have no opposing neighbors. and I can see by the application, there's quite a few neighbors that were notified. So maybe because it's sight unseen?
I didn't go by it, but Nick, I think he mentioned it looked like a portable container from the street. Is that correct? I didn't go by
Yes,
this.
it does, from what my look was. I was thinking that the one I was seeing was gone because I saw pictures that showed it fixed up, but
Right.
it didn't look that way from the street.
Street, so this is the
Okay,
way
so
looking at it from the
okay,
yard.
so from the street, you could see that it was.
From the street, it looks like a portable unit.
Okay. Well, our zoning regulations pretty much state what we, all that we can do, so I have
Yeah, you
no
look at
other,
that. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I have no other comment.
Shall we go through the list?
Sure. So this will be the voting sheet for a special exception, LZO 5.15.1. Portable storage structures may be permitted by special exception of the Zoning Board of Adjustment in the AR1 district, providing that the general requirements of Section 8.1.5.1 and Section 5.15.1 are met. In order to grant the special exception, the board must answer no to questions 1 through 9. Question 1, is the use detrimental to the health or safety of the residents?
No.
That's what he says. I mean, where do we view that? I mean, it's a shed for his lawnmowers and stuff, I guess. A metal shed's better than a wood shed if you have gas.
Yeah, that's true.
Do we all have to have an opinion for the record on me filling out this sheet?
It's the same as the consensus.
The consensus, okay. So I say no as well. Consensus?
Yes.
No? Okay. 2, will the use create undue traffic congestion or safety traffic hazard in the vicinity of the proposed development? I say no.
Agreed.
Agree, okay. 3, will the use be incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood?
You know, if, when I drove by it, it looked like a metal structure that was kind of different for the character of the neighborhood. However, because we allow them, I guess we can't force them not to make them look like a metal structure, so, and nobody's here to complain about it.
Right.
So I guess the answer, we have to,
I guess not, because we're allowing them as portable. I guess it depends on what we do on,
But is it incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood? That's the question, right?
correct. So it's our opinion at this point whether or not it's incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood.
Correct.
So the way that the zoning ordinance is written, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, is it allowing for our interpretation of the surrounding neighborhoods like we've done on variances? We go into the neighborhoods and we look at what's being asked, and if it is incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood, we have that ability to voice it.
And you have
So
it-
are we allowed to on this form as well?
You are.
Okay. So regardless of what the applicant has written, we then have to weigh in on it.
Right, using.
Okay. And then we
With-
have to then deliberate on these points.
So,
So 3, will the use be incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood?
I would have to say yes.
Do I have any other?
I'd say no.
I don't know that the use is, no.
Permanent structure there. That looks like a portable container.
Suzanne?
I've struggled with this the last time. I'm going to struggle with this every time it comes in front of us. But I think, is it incompatible? No. Do I want to live in a neighborhood that everyone has a portable storage structure? Nope, I do not. And that's what the ordinance says, and if that's what it says, then then it's allowed. Until someone wants to really strenuously object or change this, we're gonna have a town full of portable structures. Go ahead, Nick.
There's a little bit of information that wasn't provided here. How long is the storage container? Because the ordinance says it can't be longer than 20 feet.
It's 18 by 20, 8 by 20. He didn't give us the height. He said it was about 9 feet. All right, so we have, yes, no, no, no. I'll have to say no then. 4, will the use be a detriment to property values in the vicinity of the proposed development with consideration given to the location or scale of buildings, structures, parking areas, or other access ways?
It almost sounds like that's not even applicable.
Well, it's a big lot, so I don't know
It's-
how you're
there's
gonna
a
say
lot
that
there.
sticking that in the back of the lot is gonna be.
As long as the trees remain there and it's not cleared.
Well, and then winter comes and some of the leaves are gone, you're gonna see more, but, I guess. if
So I
all-
guess if nobody's here in which to object for property values, I'll vote no.
I agree.
I agree.
Agree.
I agree.
5, will a nuisance be created by such use by way of emission of odors, smoke, gas, dust, noise, glare, heat, vibration, or other pollutants, or the unsightly outdoor storage of equipment, vehicles, or other materials?
No, and I don't see how some of that is relevant. But if it's an outdoor storage, why would we have
I would say no.
vehicles or other equipment stored outside?
I agree.
I agree, I guess.
I agree. So the answer is no. 6, will the use create a hazard to the public or adjacent property on account of potential fire, explosion, or release of toxic materials?
Nick, if I may, any shed anybody puts a gas can in, I mean, obviously could have issues, and this is no different because it's, and again, maybe it's safer because it is metal.
Yeah.
But we don't have any ordinances that talk how you store gas. We don't make them put them like an OSHA cabinet or anything. So
Not in small quantities, no.
we do it in large quantity.
Well, if you were to put a large industrial gas tank, fuel tank, yeah, then there are regulations.
So we should ask that next time. So then, yeah, no.
I agree.
I agree, no.
Agree.
No. Suzanne? 7, will the use result in the degradation of existing surface and groundwater quality standards or have adverse effects on the natural functions of wetlands on the site, which would result in the loss of significant habitat or flood control protection?
Well, my concern, that's why I asked about the setback, because I thought it looked closer than 75 feet. I thought maybe it was even closer to 50 feet to the actual wetland, the demarcated wetland. So I would like clarity on that. And if we were to prove it, I guess that would be fine to put a condition that you check both the length, the height, the width, and setbacks? So that would be my concern on that point. And Nick says they could do that. It could be contingent upon that.
Okay, I agree.
That's fine, yep.
Agree.
8, will there be more than one portable structure per property? The applicant replied, no, we don't have any indication on the application that there is more than one. So I say no.
Well, thank God we limited that.
That one's
No.
clear.
That would have been an oversight. Unlimited.
9, will the portable structure be larger than 10 feet wide, 20 feet long, and 10 feet high? Applicant said no, and his response to us also indicated no, so I'll
And
answer no.
that was also what I was just talking about. I guess I shouldn't have grouped the length and size with number 7. It should go with 9, and Nick says he'll check that.
So we'll do
For
that at the
compliance,
end,
yeah.
okay. 10, will the portable storage structure be located to the side or rear of the principal structure on the property?
Yes.
And yes. 11, will the portable structure be set back a minimum of 15 feet from any side or rear lot lines and 40 feet from any property line?
Because people don't understand where the setback is for 40 feet from the front, I would like Nick to verify that one too, if everybody agrees.
I agree.
The front is considered the property line facing the road. If you're bounded on two sides, if you have two roads, then you have two 40-foot setbacks.
Right, but he doesn't really have a second road there, but I am concerned that the front setback is proper, so it asks that to be verified also.
Sure.
It's a corner, it's not really a,
Right.
but I,
2 streets, but it's 1. Right?
yeah, it's kind of weird. I almost got hit pulling in there to drive
It's a
by.
weird spot, yeah.
Will a portable structure be set back a minimum of 5 feet from the nearest wall of a building? Everything we saw was
Definitely
yes.
is, yeah.
Yes.
13, will the portable storage structure be placed on a paved, concrete, other appropriate impervious surface, or be placed on blocks? The applicant replied he had it on rocks, so I'm going to vote yes.
Well, that's not impervious, so the blocks are I don't know why, it seems kind of a hodgepodge of surfaces, but,
Rocks are impervious.
Paved concrete, other appropriate impervious surface.
I was concerned about the height, but you're gonna have that checked out.
yeah, so he can check that.
Nick, are rocks an impervious surface in your world?
Well,
Well-
I guess it would depend on the size and shape of them.
Correct.
But I think he
Something else I
indicated,
can look
I
at
think he
when I'm
said
out
gravel, and then he had
Yeah.
pavers, that it was.
Did he say he had gravel and was gonna put pavers, or that he had them?
He said he had some small pavers or blocks there, but yeah. All right, so that one number is what?
13.
So 7, 9, 11, 13, Nick will check.
14, if applicable, will adequate and appropriate facilities be provided for the intended use?
No idea what that means.
I don't know what facilities you would
What that
need.
means.
Doesn't really apply.
Guess if you're making a
Yes, I guess.
camp out of it, I don't know what their intention is there.
Right, I guess.
Laura,
so.
may I have some guidance? Is that water, sewer?
No, that's because the special exception criteria for portable storage incorporates both the portable storage and the general criteria, and that's why it says if applicable. So if it was a commercial building that wanted a portable storage, there would be other facilities that would be needed to maintain it depending on what they were doing with it.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's there if it was for
So
something.
there, it should be an NA?
Right, because it says if applicable, so if it's
Okay,
not, then you
so-
put NA.
All right. 15, if applicable, will all necessary state and federal permits be obtained?
I think it's another NA.
NA. The Board of Adjustment may attach such conditions as it deems necessary to the granting of the special exception if the board determines that such conditions are necessary to maintain the essential character of the neighborhood and/or to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the town and its residents. The Zoning Board of Adjustment may impose additional conditions such as appropriate screening, landscaping, fencing, or other requirements that it deems necessary to protect the character of the neighborhood. Is the board attaching any conditions? If yes, I must state them now.
I think as we discussed, we'll have Nick verify items 7, 9, 11, and 13. any of them are non-compliant, then they would not be granted? How do we do that? Is that fine? Does everybody agree? I mean,
No,
Yes.
I agree.
I agree,
I agree.
absolutely. So, verifying items 7, 9, 11, and 13. And all items must,
and I don't know if you need it clearer, so in number 7, I'm talking about the wetland setbacks, or do you need us to be more specific, or?
You can just add it into your notes for me to check that, yes.
Well, so we're putting a condition to
Right.
confirm item 7. Do you want us to really, to get more specific as wetland setback and
Yes.
and number 9 to verify no larger than 10 feet wide, 20 feet long, and 10 feet high? That one's pretty self-explanatory.
okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to, are we good to make a motion?
I'm good. Everybody good?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion on case number 915, 2021-1. Request for special exception pursuant to LZO 5.15.1 for portable storage structure 1 Burbank Road, map 2, lot 29B-4, zoned AR1, for Timothy Serrato to grant the special exceptions with the following conditions. That items on the special exception voting sheet be inspected by building inspector. Items number 7, which will verify the wetland setback. Number 9, to verify the structure height no larger than 10 feet high, 8 feet wide, and 20 feet long. Item number 11 and item 13.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Well, with restrictions
Yeah.
or with verification?
Technically, maybe you should have filled that out.
I don't know.
Wow.
It matters.
In case number 9/15/2021-1, a request for a special exception
Oops, I'm sorry.
pursuant to LZO 5.15.1 for a portable storage structure, 1 Burbank Road, map 2, lot 29B-4, zoned AR1. Timothy Serrato, owner and applicant. The request for a special exception is granted with conditions that the building department verify that questions number 7, number 9, number 11, and number 13 all meet the criteria as stated, and that the storage container is to be inspected by the building inspector.
I opposed.
Oh, I'm
should
sorry,
be
you said
4-1.
opposed? I didn't, you must have been too quiet. I mean, I apologize.
4-1.
My apologies.
Thank you.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate all your time.
You good?
I am. Case number 9/15/2021-2, a request for a variance from LZO 4.1.2 to allow a restaurant in the Industrial 2 zone, which is otherwise prohibited, 104 Harvey Road, map 14, lot 12, zoned Industrial 2, Manchester Airport Authority owner, and Melissa Donato, applicant.
Who will be presenting?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Your name and address, and
My name is Melissa Donato, and my physical address is 28L Juniper Road in Derry, but we're here to discuss 104 Harvey Road in Londonderry.
so this one does have the 5 points of light. You could do a brief discussion about it, and then you would go through the 5 points of law.
Okay. So brief discussion is, my ultimate goal is to open up a ice cream shop on 104 Harvey Road. And in order to do so, I have to request a restaurant to be in the Industrial 2 zone as it's otherwise prohibited. And the 5 points I have, would you prefer a summary or for me to?
No, you're best off to read them verbatim so that
Okay.
it's on the record as, you'd hate to miss something and then not have it
Probably ease
recorded.
my
so to speak.
anxiety a bit too, so I
Don't worry about it.
appreciate
We're all volunteers.
All right, so for point number 1, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. I wrote, the proposed restaurant, which is called Sweet Plainview, is located in close proximity to the rail trail and has set intended focus on complementing the trailway and all the patrons that currently use it. The existing rail trail has already brought heavy bicycle and foot traffic to this area of the industrial zone, which Sweet Plainview plans to provide an enjoyable resting spot with refreshments for the walkers and bicyclists. Granting this variance for a restaurant will improve the welfare of the community, rail trail users, and industrial employees, as this vicinity of the industrial zone does not currently offer a resting and refreshment establishment. 104 Harvey Road allows considerable views of both sides of Harvey Road while entering and exiting the establishment, and a parking lot would be placed on location to decrease the current concern of the parking area that's developed across this street near the runway. Sweet Plainview will not create any additional large truck traffic or additional noise to surrounding areas that exist in the zone, therefore will not alter the effect of the health, safety, and welfare of the community. In Phase 2, the structure being built on this property will be located as far back on the property as possible to provide safety to all the patrons and an enjoyable view of the aircrafts flying into the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport. Phase 3 plan is to develop an easeway through the DOT land to have access, direct access to the rail trail to further redirect traffic. I do have an email of the communication that I've had with the DOT for that easeway. I did make extra copies. I probably should have mentioned that first.
Yeah, we would need a copy for the
Yeah,
record.
sorry
if you'd
about
like.
that. I also have an additional copies too of something else that I'll get to later on. Am I able to bring it up? Is that okay? Perfect, thank you. So what I have is an email of coordination between the real estate agent from 104 Harvey Road and the DOT contact for that easeway. So they've helped me figure out how to go about getting the easeway and my steps I need to do to get that.
So sorry.
Thank you.
I guess for the audience, if you don't mind reading, because you submitted it for the record.
Yeah.
Now, all the letters, at some point, we'll do that after the presentation.
The letters will be read during public input.
They're not really addressing 5 points of law,
No, but there's still letters in the report.
so we'll wait on reading that one in. This,
Well, I think-
this new one, too.
Okay.
Yeah. So the new one that I just passed out, just for public record, indicates that DOT has been contacted regarding 104 Harvey Road and the possibility of an easeway. It's indicating that I do apply for the easeway. It has a couple maps on there of that DOT strip of land in between myself and the rail trail, which would where the easeway would be going through. And that's as much progress as I've made on that as of now.
Okay.
Go on? Okay. So for number 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed. I wrote, Phase 1 of Sweet Plainview is already in motion as it's currently operating an aviation-themed mobile unit at the Aviation Museum, and I did attach pictures of that unit. Sweet Plainview has been building community rapport, generating business for the town of Londonderry, growing the excitement for the museum, and also encouraging the use of the rail trail. While the proposed restaurant is not an industrial business, the spirit of the ordinance is observed through the aviation theme. The spirit of the ordinance in support of the proposed variance has already been observed by local establishments and also evidenced by letters of support provided within this application. And then I did submit some community signatures that I've been able to gather. Additionally, the spirit of the ordinance is observed throughout all 3 phases of development, as this final phase includes a structure that would replicate an airplane hangar, which similar structures do already exist within this current industrial zone. However, due to cost of materials, nationwide shipping delays, and back orders, finalizing plans on that structure is yet to be determined. But I did submit some quotes that I was able to gather to help indicate the direction of structure I'm trying to go if this variance does get approved. For number 3, substantial justice is done. Sweet Plainview's loss to this request for variance would leave 104 Harvey Road as raw, unused land, providing the rail trail with more open space at the cost of the inability to provide a family-friendly establishment. And then to add in there land preservation too, if that land goes unused. For number 4, the value of surrounding properties are not diminished. Sweet Plainview will not diminish the surrounding properties as the aviation-themed restaurant has been designed to enhance the value of the property through utility connections, a paved parking lot, and to generate business for surrounding local businesses. Sweet Plainview has a phased business approach that has already shown to be of great interest to the community, as evidenced by the aviation mobile unit that's been successfully operating at the museum on the weekends. Future plans will have an aesthetically pleasing structure that replicates an airplane hangar and would provide good use of land for the community. Other than the ice cream available at Max Apples, Sweet Plainview would be the only other ice cream shop in Londonderry, therefore it wouldn't interfere with other local business. Given all the facts listed above, granting this variance would allow Sweet Plainview the opportunity to increase value to the surrounding areas and provide a necessary space for the community to enjoy all that the airport district has to offer. And then for number 5, I have 104 Harvey Road is a .83 acre leased lot located in District Industrial 2. According to the zoning ordinance, this lot does not meet the current minimum lot size set forth by section 4.4.1.3, as the lot is too small to accommodate industrial business use. Additionally, Sweet Plain View would be able to meet the town setback requirements that are required with the intended use. Sweet Plain View will not create vibration, noise, air pollution, glare, odors, or any harmful interference with the FCC's rules as stated in Section 5.16 Performance Standards for Commercial and Industrial Districts. And the purposed use of 104 Harvey Road is a reasonable one, given the proximity to the rail trail and uniqueness of the land that would not support industrial use. The proposed property could be more effective for restaurant use to increase rail trail activity, promote the aviation museum and local business, provide a safe location for aircraft observation, and strengthen the community by having a family-friendly establishment that I truly feel has a potential to be a staple for our town of Londonderry and the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport.
Questions from the board? And Irene, you remember, you're on this case. Right. Voting alternate. But anybody can ask questions.
Yep. Yeah, I have a question. So right now, you currently have a trailer that you sell your ice cream out of. How long have you been doing that there?
Since August, so first
For
season.
about a year?
Yeah, really for a few months.
Oh,
So
since
this is our
August,
first,
this past
yeah.
August, okay. And that was at the Aviation Museum?
Yep. And I was able to get booked for a couple events too. I got to do Blues Fest. Dairy Fest got me for this weekend.
Okay, it's almost like a food truck type of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep.
That's nice. So you're proposing a permanent ice cream stand, right?
Yeah.
Is that all you're gonna sell there is just ice cream?
Yeah, ice cream. I would, if I could get more established, I'd like to have sweets, bakery items,
Okay.
if
so
possible, but that would be
mostly
further
like
down
a
the road.
dessert type?
Yeah.
items?
Yep.
Okay. And is there seating in there? For sure.
Ideally, yes. When I get the structure, I would plan to incorporate indoor seating.
I just say that because when I'm looking at the floor plan, I see
Yeah.
a couple of, maybe
Seats.
5 circles there. Is that
Yeah.
what you're proposing?
Yep. But I haven't got that far because I'm not quite sure if I get past the variance stage, but ideally, I would enjoy having indoor seating.
And the structure, I can see by the photos, is shaped like a hangar. correct?
Airplane hangar.
Anything else from the board?
I have a few questions. Okay, go ahead, you can, Suzanne.
And I was taking notes, and then I'm looking at some of these letters, and they all follow the same kind of thing. So, the beauty of the rail trail is what it is. And it currently does have a trash problem already. So that would be an issue that you would need to address. If you're going to have indoor seating, will there be bathroom facilities there? Will the building be on a foundation?
Yeah, and according to some of the hanger quotes that I've gotten, they have a couple different styles for foundation. So, yes, there would be a foundation. What that would exactly be, I'm not sure at this time yet.
Okay, and how about parking?
Yep, I would like to put a parking lot in there.
Is there sufficient room with the size of your proposed building?
Yeah, from the looks of it, so I've been in touch with the engineer as well, will do the site survey and that, but from what I've looked at, it looks like along the left side there, it's kind of almost cut out kind of perfectly for a parking lot. Again, don't know all the exact dimensions and whatnot as of yet, but,
Okay, and then hours of operation?
so I would plan, at this time, I'm planning for Right now, I operate from 12 to 4. If I was to get the restaurant, I'd try to extend it from 4 to at least sunset, 4 to 8. Sunset is beautiful over at that location.
And that would only be during, would it be open year-round, or just summer, or
Seasonal,
seasonal?
Seasonal.
yeah, yep.
What are the days of operation for your season?
So right now, I'm only operating, it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I do still work full-time. If the restaurant does go through, I would plan to have that operating as long as it can be staffed on a more regular basis throughout the
Daily
week.
basis?
Yeah,
I think she's referring to the season.
oh, like month,
Yeah, open to close
yeah.
season.
I would probably say if New England cooperates with us, then spring to beginning of fall, as long as weather permits.
Ice cream season, pretty much.
Yeah, yep.
You provided a temporary license agreement with the airport,
Yeah,
which is in effect currently.
yep, pending approvals of the variance and other permits. But I was able to secure that for the
So-
next 20 years.
And you may not be aware of this, but it talks about the use, and it says the site will be utilized for all primary and incidental purposes related to those uses specified immediately after this paragraph. And for no other purpose, but I don't see what the use actually is.
On the first page of that LOI, it does say intended purpose as restaurant, if I'm correct.
The letter of intent.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm looking at the license agreement.
yeah. Yeah,
Hey, throw me off a bit. I don't know what we're doing there. But the intent would be to lease that space going
Yep.
forward.
for
Okay.
the next 20 years, and then I get an offer for a 5-year extension after that.
20 years.
Yeah,
All right.
And that's not in this document we have, though, is it?
I don't think we have the letter of intent,
No.
and that's
I
fine.
don't.
I just
oh,
wanted to be clear on what, there's nothing in here specifying what she's using the property for. I mean, I think she made that clear, but.
Anything else, Jackie? Are you all set, Suzanne, for now? or-
Yeah.
Jackie, you had a couple questions?
So, by definition of restaurant, which you are applying for, the restaurant criteria, by our definition, that what you sell, food and beverage, to the public on demand from a menu during your business hours that you state, to be consumed on the premise primarily inside the building. So
Is that our only option?
well, we have restaurant as fast food, but you're not under that category. You're just under as restaurant because you also want to expand your ice cream to include a broader range. And you're not fast food because fast food is for consumption on or off the premises by order from and service to vehicular passengers outside the structure. So you're not serving anybody coming up,
not like a drive-through.
like fast food,
Yeah,
okay.
no.
So you're, by definition, a restaurant.
Well, how does Max Apples, what are they operating under?
Retail sales, goods and or services directly to the consumer. Immediate purchase. And they had also something else attached because they had a farm. So your days of operation currently are seasonal, but if you're building your futuristic building, I see the paperwork for the building, but as far as parking, as it is, there's a lot of traffic because everybody uses the rail trail. It's really heavy, especially during really nice days. In the fall, a lot of, it's muddy over there too. In the winter, you have everybody wanting to use the rail trail for snowshoeing or like the winter exercise, getaway. I believe that if you are, the way you've presented, you're going to be probably very successful, and that place may be too small for what you envision. The parking and all of that extra traffic, because there's a lot of people there. And I really think that you probably are going to be very, very, very successful, but that the area for where you have it presently can't take that success.
So I'm totally one of them that sit up there and watch and contribute to that traffic. I initially reached out for one Plainview Drive with the airport, and it was recommended the 104 Harvey, because it is the industrial zone and for releasing their land and stuff. So they actually encouraged the 104 Harvey.
Anything else, Jackie, right now, or?
I'm good.
One thing that concerns me is we don't really have any drawings with the frontage. Do you know what the frontage is on Harvey Road for that lot? Doesn't look like they have enough frontage to really qualify for much of anything, but I don't know because we don't have any maps and documents. It's more stuff that we normally would need. So I'm looking for more information that's not presented. Unless everybody is,
I would like more information because you gave us a lot of the building that you would like to eventually be in. You gave us a lot of information, what your business is now and what you do, but we don't have any documents in which to relate to the actual size of the area. If we,
Well, what she's seeking is a change of use. How it's gonna fit into the lot is a planning board decision.
true, but we don't even see we don't have the lot in our packet at all in which to make a proper assessment.
I mean, we've got phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. That's way beyond our
That's
grasp
beyond
here.
our
What
scope,
we're concerned with here is whether we want to allow a change of use for that property in that district.
but we need official property documents in which to.
I mean, this is what most people submit. I don't know that I get hung up with that. For what the lot looks like, yes, most people use tax maps.
We didn't even get that.
I know, but we're looking at it right now. It's a pretty regular shaped lot.
it doesn't look like it when you look at it, but yeah, okay, so 151. So I guess the bigger hurdle here to me is that it's not a permitted use, and I'm having trouble with the response to 5, which is it a reasonable use? Well, if it's not permitted, is it reasonable? I don't know how I get over that
Well, the
threshold.
problem you have is it's an undersized lot, so what do you use it for? If you can't use it for an industrial purpose, you're gonna have to use it for something. I'm not saying you have to use it as a restaurant, but I'm just saying that I think that is a hardship for them.
Well, it's, the variance is going with the airport, that the airport's never gonna lose the property, they're leasing it. So where's the hardship? The lease?
I'm not following.
The airport.
There's no hardship to the airport.
The airport's the owner. I realize that Donato's the applicant, but they're,
The airport,
all right, okay, that's fine. That was just my concern. I don't know that she probably could answer that. All right, any more questions from the board? At this time, we always have more time. Anyone in the audience in favor of, wishing to speak, or opposed, or with questions?
Oops. Good evening, Deb Paul, 118 Harvey Road. Sorry about that. I agree. I think this is a great idea. I'm just concerned about the size of the building and the amount of traffic and the amount of growth, and the fact that once you change it, you've changed it forever. Like, it stays with that property forever. If she decides to move on and get a bigger spot because she's being so successful, this will stay as it is, and that becomes a little concerning. I think it's a great idea. Derry has a little coffee shop on their rail trail that is very, very successful. And I do agree, but I think that it needs more information as to the land itself. Are there wetlands there? What's over there? We have to consider septic, water, sewer for her establishment. And if you do approve it, I think it has to have some restrictions in the sense that it always, it's bugging here, that it will always be an ice cream /shop, so that it doesn't turn into, you know, a drive-by brewery or something else over there that you may not want. So those are my points. I'm not for or against. I think it's a nice idea. I just think it needs a lot more detail to it so that you guys can make a reasonable and intelligent decision on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience?
Yes, Ted Kitchens, Airport Director.
Where do you live, sir?
Yes, sir.
Where do you live?
375 North Bend Drive in Manchester.
Thank you.
We are in favor of this, and this is a hardship to the airport because this is land that is not leased at all. So it would be removing economic value of this land if this variance was not approved. But we are in favor of this, and the reason that we moved away from One Plainview to this parcel is that One Plainview is a little bit higher, and it is a little more restricted based on the approach surfaces and the protective surfaces that come into the airport. So this is a little bit further down, and you can get a little bit of a higher structure, so it's a little bit of a better use. One Plainview is practically unleasable in its current condition because of the elevation above the runway. Just want to offer that for the board's consideration. Thank you.
So Laura, this would go in front of the planning board, or full planning board review. They would look at, does this fall into the airport overlay district?
It does not. It's just an industrial 2 zone, but it would require full site plan approval by the planning board.
Did you doubt me?
No, the reason I'm asking is because there's different uses that are allowed in the noise zone and the noise overlay and all these other
Oh, no, I
overlays.
understand that question.
And so, again, I'm going back to point 5 is where I have trouble anyway. That's not a permitted use, but, and we don't have enough, I don't feel we have enough information. I know there's 5 of us here. So I was just trying to see what else we're missing that would maybe disqualify it anyway, and then we're spinning our wheels or going down a road maybe we really don't need to go down in restaurant and industrial space. That's all. Anything else from the board?
So there's 6 letters in favor. Well, 5 letters in favor, and then 1 letter that's informational.
Okay.
So, first letter is dated April 6, 2021. It's from the Aviation Museum of New Hampshire. Dear Melissa, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Aviation Museum of New Hampshire, I'm writing this letter of support for your plans to establish an ice cream and food concession on a site located at 104 Harvey Road, Londonderry. I understand that this parcel is currently zoned for industrial uses and that a variance must be obtained for you to proceed with your plans. The museum is in support of any waiver or variance needed for you to go forward with your plans as described. We operate a year-round nonprofit museum and education center located near your proposed site. We welcome about 4,000 visitors to our facility each year and hold a regular schedule of events that draw the public. Having a concession offering ice cream and food in the vicinity would be a positive development for the Aviation Museum and would be aligned with our aim to be a preeminent attraction for families throughout the region. Also, the eventual extension of the Londonderry Rail Trail from near the location of your proposed business to the Aviation Museum's parking lot would provide a direct and vehicle-free route for patrons to travel from one location to the other. Our vision for the Aviation Museum does include the possibility of food service as part of our public offerings. There's a need for this type of business on our side of the airfield, so we support your efforts to add these services to our neighborhood. Best regards, Jeff Rapsis, Executive Director, Aviation Museum of New Hampshire. The second letter is dated April 13th, 2020. Dear Melissa, this is a letter of support for your proposed ice cream parlor that you are requesting to develop at 104 Harvey Road. Londonderry Trailways believes that your business, with its proximity to the rail, will greatly benefit the community of Londonderry and firmly enhance the spirit of the rail trail. We wish you all the success in your endeavor, and we hope that your dream of opening an ice cream parlor will become a reality. Sincerely, Bob Reimel, President, Londonderry Trailways. The third letter is from Brian Hansen, Team Engineering, 82 Palomino Lane, number 503, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, stated May 20th, 2021, to whom it may concern. This letter is an expression of my support for Melissa Donato's request for a variance related to the property located at 104 Harvey Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire, at the intersection where the Londonderry Rail Trail intersects with the runway at the Manchester Regional Airport. As I understand it, the parcel is zoned industrial, and she would like to place an ice cream, quote-unquote, restaurant, or parentheses, close parentheses around restaurant, at this location, which would require a variance. I have reviewed her building plans and business concepts, and I am supremely confident that your approval of her modest request will result in a small business enterprise that will greatly enhance the way the public enjoys the rail trail. Melissa's sweet plain view will definitely raise property values and will add a buoyant energy to an otherwise ordinary stretch of industrial parcels. I have experience with Melissa personally through the Families in Transition organization where she works. She is a very hard worker and energetic person who will certainly create an economic utility for the community near this property. If I can support this application by answering any questions or appearing in person, I am available even with short notice to support the application for a variance or the project as a whole. Best, Brian Hansen. The next letter is June 14th, 2021. It's also from the Aviation Museum of New Hampshire. Dear Melissa, on behalf of our Board of Directors, I'm writing this letter of permission and support for your plans to operate a mobile ice cream / food concession stand on the property at 27 Navigator Road, Londonderry. Laura, is this one was this one for this, or was this for the?
It's just expressing support for the mobile thing.
Okay,
that
so
she
this
has.
isn't for this variance then? This is.
It is, I think she just included it, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, just to show that her idea is
Okay,
supported by the airport.
I'll read it then, thank you. On the property at 27 Navigator Road, Londonderry, that is occupied by the Aviation Museum of New Hampshire. We are delighted that you have identified our location as worthy of this venture and will be happy to assist you. We believe this service will be appreciated by the general public and success will be beneficial to both parties. As we discussed, the board has requested that in making use of the property at 27 Navigator Road, that you observe the following conditions. 1, that the operation of your concession conform to all prevailing rules and requirements of the town of Londonderry and any other jurisdictions that apply, and that you observe parking lot rules of usage. 2, that you or your agent will provide a method for customer to deposit any refuse generated as a result of the concession, and that you will remove any litter or trash associated with its operation. 3, that you allow for occasional situations in which the Aviation Museum makes use of its entire grounds, from time to time entering into exclusive arrangements with other food vendors. During such times, it may not be possible for the concession to be operated. On such occasions, the museum will provide ample notice. 4, that it be known that at some future date, the museum may choose to operate its own food concession, which may include the sale of similar products or items. We wish you well in this new venture and look forward to it, quote-unquote, taking off. If I can be of any further assistance, don't hesitate to contact me at the Aviation Museum. Best regards, Jeff Rapsis, Executive Director, Aviation Museum of New Hampshire. We also have 34 signatures from local residents, some Londonderry, some Derry, Goffstown, Bedford, Wyndham, Pelham, Manchester. They've signed a petition that indicates, "I support Sweet Plains' dream of the future shop at 104 Harvey Road in Londonderry, New Hampshire, where the rail trail meets the runway." And there's also emails. The first email is from, the title of the email is Forward Harvey Road Londonderry. It's from Judy Niles Simmons. "Good morning, Cheryl and Luis. Hope all is well. I have been speaking with NHDOT about 104 Harvey Road, and that Melissa may need an access easement for bicycles and walkers across that particular lot. Please see the email below that I received from NHDOT last Friday. Hope all goes well at the variance meeting on the 15th. Please let us know if we can help in any way. Thanks, Judy." Judy Niles Simmons is from the Norwood Group. The email she references says, "Please let your client know that if she would like to request an easement over state-owned property, she should send her request in writing to New Hampshire Department of Transportation, Steve Labonte, Administrator, Bureau of Right-of-Way, P.O. Box 483, Concord, New Hampshire, 03302. Her request should include her desired use of the property, a tax map depicting the property, and any other information she can provide. Once the request is received, it will be assigned to an agent to research and process. Please let me know if you have any questions."
There's one more letter at the end, closer after the rough house.
It's not positive, though.
Oh, so you don't read it?
I read it. Haven't. We're in
Oh,
positive
oh,
right
I'm
now.
sorry. Well, no, nobody was getting up at first, so then we went back around. Okay, I got you. All right. Anybody against wishing to speak? Absolutely, I guess. Hold it. Is it a general question? Should I get past the against? Or you're not sure yet?
I'm curious as the size of the lot.
0.83 acres.
0.83 acres? Okay. I just was curious, because you can't tell by that map what the size was. I like the idea of the mobile on there. I think that's your best way to go.
Okay, so back to anybody opposed to? Seeing none, back to.
There's one letter to Town of Londonderry Zoning Board of Adjustment from Menzella 3 LLC, date 9/7/21, Ray case number 9/15/2021-2, request for variance from LZO 4.1.2 use table to allow a restaurant in the Industrial 2 zone, which is otherwise prohibited, 104 Harvey Road, map 14, lot 12, zoned Industrial 2, Manchester Airport Authority owner and Melissa Donato applicant. As an abutter to said property, I have the following questions and concerns. What would the hours of operation be? What type of restaurant is it? Sit down, takeout, drive-through, or other? What is the proposed size of the building? How much parking would be available? Would blasting be required to set a foundation, etc.? Since the opening of the rail trail, the traffic dynamic has changed. Sometimes the traffic backs up beyond our driveway. What additional traffic is expected? Will turning lanes be installed? As of this date, without any answers to the above questions, we oppose this variance. We also have concerns regarding a precedent being set allowing an Industrial 2 zone being changed to allow a restaurant. If 104 Harvey Road is allowed now, why not 98 Harvey Road and 1 Plainview Drive, which are larger properties? We don't believe the current road infrastructure is set up to handle commercial-type traffic in this area. In conclusion, we also have concerns about trash. As an example, since the rail trail is opened, we have seen an increase of trash being discarded across the street. This trash often blows across the street to 100 Harvey Road. If any sort of takeout is provided, we fear this will only increase littering. Sincerely, Donald Menzella, partner Menzella, the third, Donald Menzella, signs.
Thank you. So I think she covered all of those, except for would blasting be required? Do you know that answer?
I don't believe so. They give you quite a couple different options as far as the foundation for the hangar structure goes, but that hasn't been determined yet.
And how much parking and all that would be regulated by the planning department, but there was proposal in some phase down the road. We did the hours of operation, we kind of discussed where it's going on the type of restaurant, sit-down takeout. And then there was concerns over trash, which are on other airport property, it sounds like, but I guess as a restaurant, you would have proper disposal of stuff. Back to the board.
So, Mr. Chair, so being industrial too, which is one of the most intensive uses.
Lost you on that. Is the restaurant the intense use or industrial too?
So this is an industrial 2 spot. This is on, yeah, industrial 2. So on industrial 2, what's allowed there, terminal trucking, trucks larger, trucking 100,000 square feet or larger, warehouses up to 250,000 square feet. So the wholesale businesses up to 250,000 square feet. So the intensive use of this industrial 2 area is not conducive to the children that come out from the rail trail. I myself trying to cross to get to the rail trail when it is busy. Never mind after 4 o'clock on a Monday through Friday when all those businesses get out. There's heavy trucks, there's, you know, without naming all the businesses that are in that area, the big package carriers, the tractor trailers that go there. I truly believe that you have a really great concept that you've provided here, but it's going to bring a lot of children, it's going to bring a lot of families, and in order for them to safely get to your location, the traffic that's presently there, there is that stoplight that's a little further up the street, but still, those trucks come flying down there. There's a hard time just crossing the street to get to the rail trail from the parking lot. Never mind if, you know, they see the ice cream, that, you know, they want to get there, or, you know, you have, you presented something really, really eye-appealing, and I believe that it's going to cause that attraction. But the area itself isn't set up for that traffic, that foot traffic. All those families that are going to leave their vehicles probably where they park to get to the rail trail, and they're going to try to cross to get to you at your location. So, I mean, unless you can tell me, maybe I'm interpreting it incorrectly, but that's what I see by your presentation, the type of people that are going to want to come to you, and they have no way of safely getting there. They're crossing that really industrial, heavy trafficked road to get to you.
My turn. I do feel like they are already currently doing that to get access to the rail trail as is. I do think that if I can get that easeway in, I do think that would help, as they would be able to go directly from the rail trail to the restaurant, knowing that that parking lot will be ultimately moving before we know it and connecting down to the, closer to the museum. I think that would have a factor in it as well. I definitely understand where you're coming from as well too, and I think the same.
If there was presently an easement there and it was already, you know, something that came with that parcel, and, you know, then it would be a different presentation, because then your customer, your potential customer, has a safe way in which to get to you. Presently, in this industrial 2 zone, you are really trying to get across that street just to get to the rail trail. Never mind something really nice that you've presented.
Would the order of moving the easeway construction up, would that change anything in that? The land itself is raw land, so it's all going to be developed as
Correct.
we go. And if that is a barrier to it, I wonder if moving forward the easeway to prior to opening, if that would change minds or be more compliant. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, well, we'll have that for the record then. easement, the application of the easement. I have nothing further.
Anything else from the board?
Not from me.
Good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go into deliberation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any general discussion or right to the 5 points?
So, so as the easement, give her the easement to the rail trail
Instead of
instead of the road?
the road and then crossing over and then getting to her place. She's gonna apply for an easement.
Okay, so she could.
And then you would come off the rail trail and go like
into her
right
place instead
into
of
the
road,
restaurant instead of going to the road.
Which would be more applicable, I would say, right?
So Deb Paul mentioned the rail trail in Derry in a similar setup, where you
Right.
come off the rail trail, you are able to cross over, then get to the restaurant.
And that's what I'm thinking, if that's the easement she's going for, then that would help the situation where people would be coming off the rail trail going into the ice cream stand versus coming off the street, right?
And
Well,
it's,
that wouldn't stop them off
it
the
wouldn't
street. 'cause
stop
there'll
them
be-
off the street, though.
Right, but it would be more,
Question if they would give her the easement without the variance.
Correct. It's sort of like a,
Chicken and egg.
yeah, which came first.
But
And
even with
traffic,
the easement, unless the parking lot that's across the street's going away, they would still be pulling in and out. And to your point, it's a heavy industrial place with a lot of big trucks going in there. And you'd still have a lot of more restaurant-type cars and people pulling in and out through the access road. Obviously, there'll be a road going into it. So there's,
that mixed use of people.
that's what's happening, yeah.
It's that mixed use, and they don't mix well with each other. These heavy trucks and delivering, and they're going to the storage, their home bases, they're loading up, they're ready to go, versus you've got families and consumers wanting ice cream or, an ice treat or cold drink or whatever it is. They're not really paying attention to this heavy industrial traffic that's there. And it's already really heavy in there.
And we've
It's
had
not
this,
even light.
we've had this issue of a restaurant in the industrial zone before.
Yes, absolutely. And we come back to it each and every time.
Yeah, and I think it does change the essential character. It changes kind of the opposite what we normally have, which is a residential or less. But I think it changes it from an industrial zone to something where you have people coming for a particular purpose, which isn't really what industrial zone's used for.
And it's a different type of crowd.
Exactly.
I agree. I think in this scenario, criteria 1 and 2 are the hard ones to meet, and I think they do have a hardship there, that they
Yeah.
are not able to use that industrial zone because it's too small for any industrial purpose. What do you put in there?
right?
But it's the reverse of what we normally see.
It's the reverse, but at the safety and expense of the
General public.
of the
and-
general public.
Right.
Ready for the 5 points?
1, granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because?
Would, because it changes the essential character of that industrial zone.
I agree.
Did I appoint anybody on this one? I apologize.
Yeah.
I think it's still
Irene.
Irene.
Oh, was we still on?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, too. Thank you. I think it's contrary to public interest by virtue of it not being permitted. It almost states it that way, but. Suzanne?
I think it alters the character of the neighborhood.
Yes, I agree.
But I like ice cream better than industrial parks.
I know. I don't go to industrial.
It would be nice.
Well, I now do because my daughter likes to watch the planes, but
And you would be there trying
That's
to get
right.
her
That's
ice cream
right.
because she's going to be very
She runs
successful.
across
I
the
know.
street, yeah.
The spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed?
would not.
Would not.
Would not. And health and safety?
Mhm.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice.
I'm going to say would not.
I agree.
Would not.
Would
I
not.
agree.
Again, safety issue is going to outweigh the benefits of the applicant.
For the following reasons, the values of the surrounding properties would or would not be diminished.
I would say would not.
I say would not.
I agree.
Reasoning for that one?
I don't know if the industrial zones, I don't think those values would be impacted really by it. And we didn't see any evidence presented that it would.
Yeah, okay. We all agree on that. Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because,
Well, I'm going to say that they met the hardship criteria.
I agree.
I agree.
I do not, and the reason I do not is because the general public purpose of the ordinance. I agree that it's a small lot, he might not be able to put a warehouse there, or the airport might not be able to put a warehouse there, but that has nothing to do with the general public purpose of safety and protection. It's a small lot that they probably shouldn't have chopped up that way. They own probably all the land around there originally. And so it's one of those self-imposed hardships, so I don't agree, but that's my
It's a
vote.
self-imposed hardship, but.
Well, when they split a lot up, that was a huge piece, tract of land into little chunks, and then it gets rezoned or whatever. But anyway, that's just my thought.
Yeah, because it does read, there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general
General
public
public
purpose
purpose.
of the ordinance provision
So that's where I.
and the specific application of that provision to the property.
But that's my point.
So Brandon, you say there is not or is?
So I say there is not.
Okay, you say there is not. Irene? Is not. Okay, so the is nots have it.
He did not have it.
And your reasoning for the is not?
The size of the lot in an industrial zone.
Yep. And where it's located too, as it relates to the rail trail. How many other properties are there?
That's right.
That's
You
it.
could go either direction on the rail trail and find other properties, I'm
Well,
sure.
not on that end, near the airport.
Okay, and then.
Is the proposed use is or is not a reasonable one?
Is not to me.
Is not to me.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
And our reasoning?
Not permitted, is
That's
my
not-
thought.
That's not the reasoning. That's why she's here.
Right, but you're still, to me, it's
would
not
say-
permitted, and there's safety concerns, which go back to number 2. So, I mean, you can,
I would
there's
say
a lot of
it's-
overlap
Right.
in the spirit and the
I would
intent.
say it's not reasonable to operate a restaurant in an industrial zone in this particular location.
What do you say?
Was that the air conditioning
No,
or
I don't think-
thunder?
I don't think so.
Okay, comments, restrictions, anything that we'd like to so note?
Well, I guess if we didn't have so many no's on it, then we would maybe ask for more documentation, but
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for case number 9/15/2021-2 to request for a variance for LZO 4.1.2 use table to allow restaurant in industrial 2 zone, which is otherwise prohibited, 104 Harvey Road, map 14, lot 12, zone industrial 2, Manchester Airport Authority owner, and Melissa Donato is the applicant, to deny the request for the variance. Because failed to meet all of the 5 criteria of law.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstained? Aye. I'm sorry, I was supposed to say aye, 2 in favor. Okay, so to deny. Okay.
You're going to be very successful wherever you go.
Motion to deny. Motion to deny. Oh, this is always so funny. Variance denied. Right, the motion was to deny, and the vote was 5-4, so it. Isn't that always
Oh,
like-
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
always
'cause
this strange thing.
it's
The motion
the
is
way
to
the-
deny, so,
The motion's
And
granted.
the way you have to log it
so
in.
the motion is granted, but the
Granted is-
variance is
was
denied.
denied.
Yeah. Can you figure that out?
I can.
Thank you.
Case number 9/15/2021-2, the request for a variance from LZO 4.2.1 use table to allow a restaurant in the industrial 2 zone, which is otherwise prohibited, 104 Harvey Road, map 14, lot 12, zoned industrial 2, Manchester Airport Authority owner and Melissa Donato applicant. The request for a variance was denied.
We still good? Does anybody need a break? Dave,
Suzanne's just got to get some water.
and Dave, you'll be on this case as the voting alternate.
Here.
All set?
Yes, sorry.
Who will be presenting? Oh, I'm sorry, he has to
Nope,
read
that's
it in
great.
first.
Case number 9/15/2021-3, a request for a variance from LZO 4.2.1.3.b.1 to allow a lot with 50.28 feet of frontage where 150 feet of frontage are required, 10 Sheridan Drive, map 16, lot 42-4, zoned AR1, the Gardaki Family Trust, owner and applicant. There's previous zoning on this property. In 1986, there was a variance to operate a heavy construction business. That was denied. In 1993, there was a variance to build a single-family dwelling on a lot with less than 150 feet of frontage. That was tabled, and then the Langco Development Corp., which was the applicant, did not appear. In March of 1996, case number 3/19/1996-8, William and Gail Gardaki requested a variance to build a single-family dwelling on a lot with less than 150 feet of frontage. That was granted with restrictions. That same night, March 19th, 1996, in case number 3/19/1996-9, William and Gail Gardaki requested a special exception to operate a landscape business as a home occupation. That was granted with restrictions. And the criteria for that case number 3/19/1996-8, the 4 requirements or restrictions were that it must be within the spirit of the ordinance, hardship based on lot access, other restrictions as presented, driveway to be 20 feet wide.
So, and this was lot 1642-4, so it's the same lot.
Same
Okay,
lot.
because it was a bigger lot then. All right, gotcha, thank you. Who will be presenting?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Tucker McCarthy. My company, McCarthy Properties, is acting as developer's representative.
And do we need address for the, usually we say a name and address, please?
Can I give a PO box?
Yeah,
PO Box for 7192 Milford, New Hampshire 03055 is my mailing address. The property that we are here this evening to discuss with you is 10 Sheridan Drive. The owners of that property are the Gardocki Family Trust, Bill and Gail Gardocki, who are with us this evening. Also with us this evening is Attorney Tom Quinn, who I will be handing things over to after I give a brief introduction of this project. So as you can see from the map, this property is 7.893 acres. It is zoned agricultural residential. The property does have frontage and access on Old Dairy Road as well as onto Sheridan Drive. As you stated earlier, the property did receive a variance to construct a single-family residential home off of Sheridan Drive, in which the property only has 50.28 feet of frontage where 150 feet of frontage is required. The reason we are in front of you this evening is this is the first step in a proposed development to subdivide this property into 4 lots. As you can see, the existing home will remain with the driveway off of Sheridan Drive. The new lots and new homes to be built will be accessed off of Old Dairy Road through a new road, which will be a public road. And all of the zoning requirements for those lots, as well as the existing lot, other than the frontage, will be met. So ultimately, the reason we're here this evening is because of the change to the lot requiring the same variance to be granted. Access to the existing house will not change as it is accessed today. The other thing, as you mentioned, there was a special exception granted for the landscape business that the Gardockis used to operate out of this property. They actually have sold their business in March of 2021, and that landscape business ceased to operate at that time and will no longer operate out of that property. I think that's pretty much it for me. I guess the one thing I forgot to mention, just to kind of orient yourselves, this property is just to the southeast of the intersection of Auburn Road and Old Dairy Road. So at this time, I'm going to hand things over to Tom Quinn, Attorney Tom Quinn, and go ahead.
Great. Thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Quinn. I'm an attorney. I practice in Milford, New Hampshire, and my address there is 62 Elm Street. So with the risk of repeating a very little bit of what Mr. McCarthy just said, I'll point out that the property is in the agricultural residential district. In addition to being known as 10 Sheridan Drive, it's also shown as tax map 16, parcel 4-4. Of course, it has 50.28 feet of frontage on Sheridan Drive and the similar frontage on Old Dairy Road. The property has existed in this basic configuration since at least 1973. In 1996, the applicants were granted a variance to construct a single-family residence on the property with that same 50.28 feet of frontage on Sheridan Lane Road. The applicants built their residence in 1997, so the dwelling, the driveway, the development of this lot has existed this way since 1996. The only reason that we're here for a variance tonight is because we proposed making changes to the other roughly 6 acres of land that make up this property. As it was previously stated, the balance of the land has previously been used in a commercial way as home of a landscaping business, hardscape really, not so much a nursery, but hardscape. That use has been discontinued So in order to, to continue to make use of the remaining land and to accommodate needs of their family, the decision was made to further subdivide the lot into residential property. All three of the proposed lots meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance, and no variances are required for those lots. The development plan, of course, has not been approved by the planning board yet. We need to get this variance addressed first so that we can submit a plan such as this to the planning board. Because, the plan hasn't been submitted, it's possible that there'll be tweaks to it, not only before it's submitted, but during the planning board process. But the one thing that will remain a constant is the need for this variance, because the frontage for the existing house lot will continue to be 50 feet. And, so we're going to need a variance on that point, regardless of what else happens in front of the planning board. With respect to the variance criteria, the first two tests, that the variance not be contrary to the public interest and that the variance be consistent with the spirit of the ordinance, have been treated for years by the Supreme Court as basically one test. They speak about these two tests together, and that was recited clearly by the Supreme Court in the case of Malachi Glenn Associates versus the town of Chichester. And in that case, the Supreme Court acknowledged that, of course, any requested variance is going to be considered a violation of the zoning ordinance, if you want to use that language. That's what a variance is. We're asking to do something that the zoning ordinance doesn't permit. So the court further instructed that in order to determine whether those two tests have been met, you have to look instead at whether the variance would alter the essential character of the neighborhood and whether the proposed variance would threaten the public health, safety, and welfare. It's our position, of course, that granting the variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. The driveway serving the existing home comes off of Sheridan Drive, as shown on that plan. That's the way it's been since 1997, pursuant to an ordinance. So the neighborhood, the Sheridan Drive neighborhood, is not going to change one bit. The driveway is going to serve this lot and no other lots. The access for the other three proposed lots will come directly off of Old Derry Road. They won't connect, so there really won't be any change in the Sheridan Drive neighborhood whatsoever. Nor would granting the variance threaten the public health, safety, or welfare. Although the frontage is less than required by the zoning ordinance, the way the lot is configured, it's a safe access. If you look at the plan, you'll see that the driveway leads directly from the house onto the road. There's no turn that's required. When you come out of that driveway, you don't turn right, you don't turn left, you're looking straight ahead the whole time. Same thing when you're coming back and driving from Sheridan Drive into the property, it's a straight shot, there's no turn involved. So, sight distance isn't a concern right and left, and of course, straight ahead, it's virtually unlimited. There are only 4 properties in this neighborhood that use this end of Sheridan Drive as access to those properties, and the number of lots that will use Sheridan Drive is not going to change as a result of this proposal. The next test is, determining that granting the variance would do substantial justice. In that same case, Malachi Glenn, the Supreme Court advised that Perhaps the only guiding rule in determining this factor is that any loss to the individual that is not outweighed by a gain to the general public is an injustice. So in its current configuration, the property is oversized. You know, it's nearly 8 acres when I think it's it's going to be 1.9, but I think it's only 43,000 square feet that is required. So it's a tremendously oversized lot. And without this kind of variance, we can't make an effective subdivision of that property. And of course, the proposed development is less than what would be possible on the property if they became aggressive about it. The proposed 4-lot subdivision is a reasonable use of the property, but in order to obtain that, this variance is required. As I said before, there's no increase on the traffic on Sheridan Drive, so there's really no benefit to the public to be gained by denying the variance. It's a situation that has existed since 1996, 1997, without incident, and it would be, there's no substantial benefit to the public in denying it at this point. The next test, of course, is granting the variance will not diminish the value of surrounding properties. Again, Lot 1, you know, in the existing residence has been developed this way for over 25 years. It's consistent with the rest of the development in the neighborhood. We have submitted, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 different letters from the abutters who support the granting of the variance. There's no reason to think that abutters who were concerned that the impact of this variance would diminish their property values would then turn around and submit a letter supporting the variance. In addition to that, we've submitted a letter from a local real estate agent who's familiar with the market in Londonderry, who attests that her opinion is that there's nothing about this requested variance that would diminish local property values. The last one is the hardship, of course, and that is that the fifth test, owing to the special conditions of the premises that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in an unnecessary hardship because there's no fair and substantial relationship existing between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the premises, and two, that the proposed use is reasonable. As I've said previously, the applicant's property is unlike other properties in the area. If you look at the tax map and the aerial view that is submitted, you'll see that it's an oversized lot in this area. It's not like the other properties. But more importantly, this property has already been approved for construction of a single-family residence with the current frontage of approximately 50 feet. The general public purpose of the frontage requirement is to ensure, safe sight distance, prevent congestion by, allowing a proliferation of small lots close together, frequent driveways, all of those sorts of things, none of which are applicable here because we're not changing the existing situation with respect to this driveway at all. And like I said, in this adequate sight distance because of its configuration. Again, all the other lots to be created meet the zoning. So neither granting this variance nor the subdivision of the other 3 lots will have any impact on the Sheridan Drive neighborhood. The applicant's proposed use of the property is reasonable. It's in an agricultural residential district. Single-family dwellings are permitted in that district. 3 of the 4 lots meet all the size and dimensional requirements of the ordinance. The fourth one, the one we're concerned with tonight, meets the size, in fact exceeds the size substantially. It meets all the requirements except for frontage. The existing frontage has previously been approved by this board and has existed in its current situation since 1997. And again, there'll be no impact on Sheridan Drive. That, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Questions from the board?
Which lot are we talking about? The one up top,
That one.
4243?
Yes, thank you for doing that.
Yep.
424 or 4243?
You could see, yep, you could see.
Well, I think,
I didn't hear the question.
424 or 4243?
It's
424.
424?
I think-
424.
I think that note is giving to the existing lot as a parent lot, and then it's showing you what the proposed lot would be specifically for that existing house. If you see, there is a leader that says existing two-story house. And that pattern in the driveway is naturally, having owned a landscape business, they have a patio, a paver driveway.
Okay.
And a lot of beautiful landscaping around it.
And the existing steel building?
I suspect that will come down because, or converted to a residential use, because that's going to be a residential lot.
Okay.
Correct. That the intent is for that to remain and be used as a residential garage.
Oh, to remain.
Yes.
Remain, but converted use.
Yes.
Okay. It's a very unique situation.
So,
There won't be a need for the continuing special exception that exists on that lot.
for the,
Excuse me?
for the business for landscaping?
Yes. We won't need that special exception anymore. That will be abandoned.
A question for Nick or Laura. When a lot gets broken up like this and it has these various variances out there, what happened to them? It goes with the one that still has the same part number, if you will, 42-4, or does it, I mean, it's originally that was the whole lot.
Right.
So, and they break it up, does it go with individually with each piece? What happens there?
So if the board was inclined to grant a variance, right now you could have a variance condition on the subdivision, so that it would go to the proposed lot 42-4.
Well, they're saying they don't even need it, and it sounds like they're making that part of their, not this variance, the one for the.
Oh, for the other lots.
Landscaping. No,
That's not a variance. That's a special exception. That's what was throwing me
but
off.
wait, that was I thought back then that was still a variance. All right, never mind.
No, it was not.
I thought-
Originally, I think a variance was applied for, and then they came back for,
You just said that you're not changing any of the existing entrance, but the existing entrance, that lot has more frontage on that cul-de-sac, and you're looking like the cul-de-sac on Sheridan Drive is going away, so I'm confused there.
wait, okay, let me try to clarify that. Right now, the access to the house is off of Sheridan Drive, right there. That map doesn't show it very well, but the Sheridan Drive extends beyond the cul-de-sac right to the frontage of this lot, Lot 4, okay? So,
No, yeah, I realize that.
Okay, so
but-
I'm just saying-
But we don't have the property lines from that original lot. You're saying nothing's changed, and that would have had a 50-foot entrance back then, and it didn't. The 50-foot variance was for Dairy Road, so I'm confused.
No, that's where you're mistaken. The variance for the 50 feet of frontage was on this lot, so that to serve the residential property, which is why a building permit was issued to construct that residence. Now, there's also 50 feet of frontage on Old Dairy Road. But that was never the access to the house.
Okay, so again, just because we don't have more of the big lots, so the additional lots that Tom and Shauna own, 50.3, that does abut most of the cul-de-sac, I guess.
So the plan you see there is a proposed plan. So that is, all 4 of those lots are part of the existing lot, including that
Even
cul-de-sac.
50-3?
all 4 of those lots that you see there are all part of the existing lot.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, but this is 50 dot, so this is part of it? too?
No,
No, that's not.
Well, that, all right, so that was my question, because what you're representing here is it looks to me like you're removing the cul-de-sac and saying, there's your 50-foot right-of-way through there.
Oh,
I
no,
don't
no.
understand what that drawing's about.
that is
Oh.
a right-of-way, so the only frontage that this property has onto the right-of-way is that 50.28 feet, halfway up their driveway.
So you're saying that, that Pat Sheridan Drive, that's the original driveway to the original
No,
Yes.
lot?
What what we label there as Sheridan Drive
Yes.
is in place and extends all the way to the Lot 4 shown on that plan.
Right.
The circle is in place, and that's not going to change. And we're not extending it because it already exists. That the 50 feet of frontage was approved in '96 as the access to this house.
Right.
So then why are you here?
Because because changing the lot is a substantial change, and it requires that we come back to the plan, to the zoning board.
So that original,
acres anymore now, it's gonna be.
It's, right,
Right, so
and it's
that-
not going to be, originally it was 8 acres, approximately 2 acres or so of which was used residentially, and the balance which was used in their landscaping, hardscaping business. And the access to that business was, and I believe it was expressly required that it not be off of Sheridan, but that it be off of Old Derry. So that's why that other access existed. And you can see, I mean, you,
I see. So that was the access to that house, and Old Derry access the rest of it from
to the business. Exactly.
That was all one lot.
I believe that,
It was one lot,
How
exactly.
believe
you're
this-
subdividing it so that.
Now, it's not
variance-
subdivided yet, we're proposing the subdivision.
That variance goes with the full lot, and now the lot's changed.
Right, now the lot's changing.
And you're looking for
I believe the law requires that if you're, regardless of a variance being in place, that if you're making changes to a nonconformity, that you are required to get a new variance for that.
So you changed it from one whole lot.
Right, so
to
we're asking
subdivided.
for the same variance, and that's simply in essence, because it's not the whole lot now, it's just that single lot that the house is gonna remain on, that we're creating 3 new lots through that proposed road. However, we meet all the variance requirement, the
zoning.
zoning requirements on those lots. We've done a soil survey, so we've determined that, you know, the minimum lot size based on soils, all of that. So we've vetted all that out. We haven't specifically done any design on the road or any drainage like that, just because the variance is needed in order to do the rest of the project, so.
I guess what was confusing me and what made some neighbors stop me and ask me what the heck I was doing on Sunday was, well, I wonder what, you look at this bottom.
Well, you read these letters,
If
right?
you go back up, yeah, no, if you go back up where you see the Sheridan Drive cul-de-sac, where you're saying the existing right-of-way is,
Yeah.
the 50 feet, when you pull up, I mean, I don't know why you have this here, because Sheridan Drive is the cul-de-sac.
So that's incorrect, actually. So if you see where it says Sheridan Drive, and you see the black lines on either side, and it says Class 4 right between it,
Yeah.
that is the right-of-way. And I believe that the cul-de-sac, to me, it looks like,
Back here?
well, no, you can see the cul-de-sac right there, but it looks to me like the cul-de-sac actually has easements onto those properties. So the actual
At a
right-of-way,
town road, the cul-de-sac is a town road that town plows? Town does, to that point.
Right.
so their driveway is actually partly on the town right-of-way. So the town, I'm sure, doesn't plow that, but.
No.
No, I just imagine
No,
the
they
town
plow
uses
the
the cul-de-sac to
well,
turn
that's what I'm
around.
saying, you're representing the cul-de-sac as, I don't know,
Well,
that's
I-
what was confusing me. You go back to the other one, so when I'm driving around looking at a map, trying to figure out what the access point is, and the fact that that was one big lot,
So-
when I look, because you can't tell, because of you don't show me the current lot, I
So
guess.
if you look
I
at
thought that
that-
you probably had 150 feet on the cul-de-sac, as one would expect, driving through there now looking at it.
Oh,
And it sounds like you're not even sure if the town accepted the cul-de-sac, or if you guys
Oh, no.
have a right of way, or?
No,
I don't
no.
understand how you could rationalize
If
that.
you look at that map there, you can see clearly where the property line starts, so.
Well, that's not a survey map, that's a little GIS thing, all right? So we
No,
don't
but-
really
but
rely
we-
heavily on those, we use them for reference, but you really need a stamped map to look.
This is stamped by a surveyor.
Right, that's what I'm
This
saying.
one is, but this isn't as well.
Right, well, okay, well, that's the thing, but in terms of our plan, you know, it's a survey done by a reputable surveyor, it's stamped, and it shows 50.28 feet of frontage.
Yeah,
And it
but I
shows
didn't know
where
if that
that-
was the proposed,
and
and
it should-
that's what I'm saying, because you had a variance, supposedly, you already have a variance for that. That wasn't clear because we didn't have all the documents. We have this proposed one. When I drive there and look at it, and I'm confused because I'm thinking, well, this is all one big lot, it's owned by both family, it's the same family. I'm thinking you already have 150 feet on there.
Okay.
And that's why the neighbors said, what the hell you doing here, driving around in circles, staring at the woods? I think they thought I was casing the place, which I said, I'm on the zoning board, that's very good, I appreciate you doing that, but
I
I
apologize.
was just misleading, is my point.
We should
and
have
it's-
provided you with a
What-
plan that didn't show the proposed lot lines. so
Right,
that's
because then
our
it doesn't
mistake.
give us reference to it, but if that's already existing, I guess my only concern is when we're looking. When I'm looking at this, I guess not knowing that, when I'm looking at it doing a drive-by, and I do that for almost every zoning board case, I'm trying to get a feel for the character, because it's not all just what's on the paper. Geez, I don't know why you even got that one when you had that much land there and they own the lot next to it, but that's beside the point. All right, so that's what was confusing.
It is a family member that owns that lot, but it is not them, and I don't know that they owned that property at that time, so.
All right, no, I didn't, because we don't have the original documentation, it was hard to tell what was going on. So
Understood.
we're just reinstating something that's already there. However, now, when someone buys the lot right next to it, bear with me. The lot right next to it, in the original setup, the whole lot would have been owned by 42-4, where the existing house is. Now, the 42-4-1 could be somebody else. And so what do you have for, so off, again, the way the road looks, I guess they could make it look like a little fenced-in funnel, 4 feet, 40 feet back, but, all right, never mind, it was kind of misleading, I guess, or we didn't have all the information that would make it.
It's a confusing lot, so I can understand, because it,
Anything else from the board?
Not for me.
I'm good.
Anybody in the audience in favor? Opposed?
Well-
Having questions? Oh,
In favor, there are 7 letters. Dated 8/16/2021, to the town of Londonderry. We have known Bill and Gail Gardaki for the past 19 years. We have no objection to them asking for the variance they are seeking to keep their current home on a smaller lot. If further information is needed, please do not hesitate to contact us. Paul and Phyllis Williams, 9 Sheridan Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire, 03053. This next letter is dated 8/15/2021. To the town of Londonderry. My name is Justin Haggett, and I live at 59 Old Derry Road in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Bill and Gail are neighbors of mine, and they are the best neighbors anyone could ask for. I understand they are looking to subdivide there, and I am in 100% support of this. If you have any questions at all about this, please feel free to contact me at 603-475-9964. Thank you, Justin Haggett. Third letter is dated 8/12/2021. Bill has been an excellent neighbor, and I support him in obtaining a property variance that is needed to complete his project. As long as our property at 57 Old Derry Road is not impacted or affected by his needs in any way, shape, or form. Please feel free to contact us with any concerns or questions at the information below. Suzanne Musson and Sean Sperber. The next one is August 15th, 2021. This is regarding Bill and Gail Gardaki, to whom this may concern. This notice to give our perspective with our abutting neighbors, Bill and Gail Gardaki. We have been neighbors for nearly 25 years. Bill and Gail Gardaki have been and continue to be the most caring and exemplary neighbors anyone could wish for. They have always been there for people in our neighborhood and very involved with our community. We are very pleased with their characteristics of love, caring, and sharing. We are blessed to have such wonderful people, such as they, to be abutting us. They have brought up 2 wonderful children that also reflect their high standards of love and care. Who could ask for more? Best regards, Jim and Carol Godin. This next one is from Andrew and Trixie Lefebvre, 58 Auburn Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire, 03053, August 15th, 2021. To the town of Londonderry. Dear members of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we are writing in support of the request for a variance of our neighbors Bill and Gail Gardaki, which is being presented. It is our understanding that the request is to subdivide their home from the balance of their lot. The Gardakis have been excellent neighbors and have always been respectful of the direction of this board with the variance of approximately 25 years ago regarding business operation and no interruption of the buffer with their abutters. Bill and Gail have been outstanding members of our community, and we fully support their plans for their home of 1/4 of a century and applaud their concept. Respectfully submitted, Andrew Lefebvre, Trixie Lefebvre. Tax ID 16430. The next one is dated August 13th, 2021, to the town of Londonderry, New Hampshire. From Charles DeRossi, 53 Old Derry Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire. To whom may concern, the Gardaki family have been my neighbors for decades and have been the kind of people anyone would be happy to have. I am in full support of their plans for the property. Next one is dated August 12th, 2021, to the town of Londonderry Planning Board regarding William and Gail Gardaki. To whom it may concern, we have lived next to Bill and Gail Gardaki since we moved to Londonderry in 2013. They have always been great neighbors and friends since we arrived. Regarding the variance that they are seeking, we have no objection to their plans, as their property is always neatly kept and maintained. Thank you, Robert and Nancy Wilkes, 18 Irish Lane, Londonderry. There's also a letter to McCarthy Properties dated September 12th, 2021, regarding this variance application. Tucker, in reviewing the proposed plan to subdivide the property at 10 Sheridan Drive, it is my opinion that the proposed project would not diminish the surrounding property values. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions regarding the matter. 603-566-8943. Best regards, Betsy Levesque, Realtor with the Bean Group.
Anybody in the audience opposed? CNN, do you have any opposed?
No letters opposing. No letters opposing. I don't know how they could have more neighbors.
Well, the most of them were on Derry Road. I don't think it was the one that was concerned about me. They were coming out of the house on the right after the anything else from the board? So, I'm looking at the variance that's there. It said it was for the property on 57 Old Derry Road. So I'm not seeing the variance for the Sheridan Road one. Is that because,
That was, the legal address was the 57 Old Derry.
so they got they didn't need a variance for Old Derry Road? They're saying there's two existing variants for 50 feet of frontage.
No, there's one variance that was granted back in
The other one was the
86.
special exception.
Right, the other was special exception
I'm
for the
sorry, all right.
warehouse.
So that's why I'm confused, because
so-
we have two 50-foot entrances. One was a variance, one was a special exception.
Well, the special exception was just for the business. The variance was for the frontage.
Yes, when we look at the drawing, there's 50 feet on Derry Road, so that you're saying that didn't require a special exception or a variance?
I don't know if it required, there's not one on record. They got the variance for,
That was the other reason that I almost, yeah.
With respect to the, I did present this, obviously, in 1996, so I'm not absolutely certain this. But what I suspect was happening is that this was an existing lot of record. So the variance of the Old Derry Road, which was the principal route of access traditionally, which is why it had an address on Old Derry Road, was fine. That was grandfathered, allowed, what have you. But they needed a variance because they were going to build a house on it and access it from a different road than they had historically accessed it from. So now they need a variance.
It was granted, but because it's split up, you need to come back for the same one.
Exactly.
Which is crazy. But true.
All right. The board's good?
We're good?
We'll go into deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you.
You good, Neil?
It is just, it's baffling that, to me,
Hey, you're the engineer, so if you're
well, that's what I'm
baffled,
saying.
then
It None of it makes sense, and the fact that we weren't given the existing one first.
C and I looked at that.
For
and it made
perspective,
perfect
because
sense
when
to
you-
me what they were looking-
I mean, so to me, it's a whole different thing when they get here and present it, and they say, well, it was this big lot, and they show it, and then they seem confused even about that cul-de-sac not being a real roadway, and,
Yeah, I don't know that I need to have that on there, but
yeah, well, I mean, I know, but when I look at it, it looks like they're eliminating it to me. It's all proposed for this new plan, but anyway, they're not, and that's fine. So anyway, any general, or should we go right to the 5 points?
I think we can go right to the 5 points.
5 points? Okay. Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to public interest because?
Would not.
Would not.
Not,
Or not.
Reason?
Literally no change.
No change to the character, of the neighborhood.
correct.
The spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed?
Would.
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 Suzanne?
would, I agree.
Okay. Same reasoning, no change to the character of the neighborhood?
Correct.
Issue with health, safety, or
Okay. Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice?
Would.
Would.
Would. And that is the applicant's loss would be greater than the gain to the public.
Right.
For the following reasons, the values of the surrounding properties would or would not be diminished?
Would not.
Would not.
They had a letter in support and all their neighbors support it.
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because?
I would say there is not.
There is not because it already had that, it's already set up with the
Right.
Pretty much
50
existing,
foot.
right.
Right.
I agree.
variance. On one end or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Definitely confusing, but.
The proposed use is or is not a reasonable one?
It is.
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 Home building is reasonable?
Right.
It's allowed.
Access to your home, right?
Do we have any comments, restrictions, or timeframe conditions? I've got nothing.
Do we have timeframes on special exceptions?
It's a
Oh, it says including any timeframe condition.
I
That
was
just
just
got
getting an answer.
added.
Yeah, I was just
I didn't-
asking, because I
yeah.
didn't think we did, but
Okay.
she asked.
I asked.
Now we all know we get them.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for case number 915-2021-3, request for a variance from LZO 4.2.1.3.B.1 to allow a lot with a 50.28 feet of frontage where 150 feet of frontage are required, 10 Sheridan Drive, map 16, lot 42-4, zoned AR1, the Gardaki Family Trust, to grant the request for the variance.
I will second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Five, zero. Granted.
In case number 915-2021-3, the request for a variance from LZO 4.2.1.3.b.1 to allow a lot with 50.28 feet of frontage where 150 feet of frontage are required, 10 Sheridan Drive, map 16, lot 42-4, zoned AR1, the Kodaki Family Trust, owner and applicant. The request for a variance is granted.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Any communications or special?
Next week? Next week.
Next month?
Oh, gee.
One thing though, before we go, there seems to be a lot of confusion over the portable structures thing.
How do we change
Is that something, I know in the past, we kind of bring it up, I know the planning, engineering department, planning board, whatever, not the planning board, the engineering department. Are they looking at this, or what do we do if we want clarity on this? Do we go to them every time? Do we ask them to readdress it or something?
They did just change it, so they had. a
I
lot
know
of
they changed
discussion
it from,
with the
because we
town.
didn't allow it, and that's, we
Well, we
had
allowed it,
the
but we had-
short-term stuff,
Right,
yes.
so they did, have numerous public hearings on it, then it went to town council. If the board is struggling with it, then I would suggest, Neil, you as the chairman of the Board of Adjustment, send a letter to Art Rug, just expressing some of those concerns. And then they can revisit it, make changes if they deem it's appropriate, and we'll go through the whole process again.
Now, once again, is this another thing where it was noticed once and then there was 40 meetings, but only the first one's noticed? Because I don't remember seeing any notices about that other than the final acceptance meeting. Nothing about the preliminary work,
Right, no, they have workshop meetings,
but those don't get noticed.
those are on the agenda.
They don't get noticed in the
There's-
paper.
You are correct.
And then we wonder why nobody shows up for town council meetings, planning board,
But-
any of these workshops, but
there
it's
was a-
until the end, so there's no input until it's kind of late.
Well, a public hearing provides residents with the opportunity to provide input.
Yeah, but, all right, but again, with so much, with no hindsight of what had transpired ahead of the time, so it's, all right, it seems crazy to me at times, but,
It seems to me like it needs to be a little revised, I think.
oh, I think that we need some clear
doesn't-
definitions, or
it's-
I don't know if Nick,
Just some clarity.
There's too much like gray area there.
If you're looking for clarity, like as far as to be interpreted, that would go to Nick, but as far as clarity, if you're not comfortable with some of the provisions of the actual ordinance, you think that those are not serving the community in the way that you think they should, that would be a letter for the planning board.
Correct.
My concern would be, it almost seems like you make a portable structure, like this guy just come up for permanent, even if, you might want, it should be just, there for a temporary means, and it seems like a lot of these are coming to be there kind of for years or whatever, and they're unsightly, so.
And
Doesn't
no,
seem
the
correct.
That's the
board
problem.
did consider the indefinite determination that was left with no time frame. That was discussed at length at the planning board, and they were happy with leaving it the way it is currently. So the
It was a
concerns
big
about.
lobby.
Hmm?
It was a big lobby by certain people.
It just doesn't,
Portable
just
container.
doesn't, seems
Exactly.
contradictive. It's like
all
a
right,
portable
well,
structure should
so
be-
I will look for
temporary.
direction from the board. If the board thinks we need
Absolutely.
better language for our purpose and interpret our purpose and understanding.
To better serve the community.
Yes.
Are we looking for specifics, clarity on the timeline, that it's supposed to be portable? Is that a conflict of naming? Does it become, if it's no longer portable, is it really a portable structure? Is it just a structure?
That's what it seems like. It's just a structure now.
Way around.
One thing to wrestle with is that it's actually a piece of commercial equipment. It was built to people on ships and transport things.
Right.
It wasn't built as a residential structure or an accessory structure to a dwelling. It was built as a commercial, piece of a commercial equipment.
We
So
all have
did,
too much stuff.
Yeah, and that's
right, but,
really-
so I understand that, but when they looked at it, and I wish I had gone to a workshop maybe, because there would have been more chance to find out some information. Structurally, do we think they're as safe as a shed would be under code?
Wait till somebody gets locked in one.
Probably. I think the more.
I mean, maybe this all transpired, but once again, there's so much there that doesn't, it happens till it's too far down the track, and so if you're out of town and they're having that, planning board meetings, having the decision that night, there's no way for input, and nobody gets involved, and we wonder why nobody shows up at meetings, other than zoning board meetings, when they're not in my backyard, maybe, or they're supporting somebody. That's all. And to me, are there concerns about them structurally? I don't know if that was covered. I guess it's really out of our bailiwick, other than as a concerned citizen, and the fact that they're supposed to be portable, and you're saying they weren't built for this and they're commercial.
Well, structurally, I don't think that's a concern,
I don't think.
but.
No, either do I,
We
but
do
I'm just,
discuss it being deteriorated.
My
they
concern.
do, because they
Yeah.
can rust a lot.
My
quicker.
concern is the looks of them. I mean, they're not really like
Right,
a
so-
residential conforming piece of, I mean, it's a piece of equipment. It's not really a residential.
It wasn't intended to
structure.
be displayed residentially. It was,
All right, so do I,
purpose was
Don't worry, you'll
commercial.
have people living in them, people getting
well,
locked in
yeah,
them.
so I guess
You
just
will.
to give the planning board or Arthur direction,
I don't like it. I mean.
I guess we can't say generally, we're just looking for better definitions and timeframes, because they've already discussed all that. So I guess, what are we looking for, or,
More conforming with the neighborhood, that's what I would say.
Well,
Oh, that is one of the criteria.
yeah, I mean, do we want to,
I mean,
ask
you
for
know.
that, or do we just, scrutinize that more closely?
every time we have a case, but.
Because if we want to scrutinize that more closely, maybe we don't want to ask. Because if he says they are, we've interpreted this and the way we've drafted is that they are compatible with residential neighborhoods, then we might be more stuck than we are now. I think now we can look at it on a case-by-case basis, and that number 3 is going to be the key for pretty much every one of these. Is it compatible with the surrounding neighborhood?
Right, and I
But-
think they
but the
should be
key here is-
temporary.
Portable storage unit.
Right.
These portable storage units are intended for commercial purposes for transporting of product.
Right.
Not for long-term storage in residential areas, hence, that's why we have sheds
so
and
we're-
garages.
That
Right.
ship has sailed.
Well,
Yeah.
no, because there was no intent or purpose,
There was no intent
So
or
we're
purpose
looking
on
more
the
for-
ordinance,
intent and purpose,
stated in my book anyways.
not as it's written. All right, so-
And I look to that because the zoning intent and purpose of any zoning ordinance that I look up, that's what I have to start with. What is its intent? And they left that out.
And it was never there before. They started putting it in more recently, so people could have a better idea of how
Or an
to
understanding.
pull it in, and they must have been either rushed or
I mean,
they just,
I look at them as something that's supposed to be temporary. Okay, you need some temporary storage. They use a portable storage unit. They use it for, however long, 6 months, a year, and then it's out of there.
Well, that's what we used to have.
Well, that was the old way. So now this new way, this new revamping of the ordinance in which we must follow, has some holes in it
Yeah,
that don't allow us to serve our community properly, because every time we go, it's the same road that we go down with each one of these that we've already done under the new ordinance.
If I can just maybe help give some guidance to the board, I would direct you to the definition in the ordinance for portable storage structure, and I could send to the board all the meeting minutes from the planning board from when they did have their workshops, just as far as
Oh, that'd be
discussion.
good.
So you can at least get a flavor of what they were thinking, and that may,
maybe.
But still, what concerns me is they never stated what the intent of the ordinance was. That's some of the key things that we rely on. What is the intent of this ordinance?
and they do when it comes to certain sections in the ordinance, the intent, I mean, this is a special exception, so the intent isn't, as you see, like with the variance.
Correct.
They're looking.
Oh, sure, sorry.
The relief is to be a special exception, which are the criteria that are spelled out in the zoning.
right, but, so that would be fine, and the definition, but again, there used to be a limit, and it used to be 60 days, and they could get extensions and so forth based on what the application was, and then nobody was moving them anyway because we weren't enforcing it, so I don't know if that had an impact, whatever. What does everybody think about we telling them you have to answer no here on the?
Yeah, that should not be
That
there.
doesn't make
There
sense.
should be no
either.
direction. They should be able
Yeah.
to answer the
Right,
questions.
answer whatever they feel they should answer that. Shouldn't have to say you have to answer no, right?
I understand you're trying to make them understand it, but it,
And just so you know, the concern that I receive most from residents is like, your forms are too tricky, I don't understand them, the 5 criteria are difficult. So that was an attempt to say, if you can't, like our friend Tim said, if you can't answer these questions yes or answer these questions no, then you are not going to meet the criteria and you won't be able to get the special exception unless you apply for a variance to the criteria of special exception, which is another whole process as well. But I can absolutely change that if that's the will of the board. I have no problem doing that.
I would
And I
prefer
can-
change. Do we want to kind of get a census here?
I mean,
Oh, I think you should, yeah, I think it should be out.
shouldn't say you must, you could maybe put at the end, this,
I mean, if I say anything, if you don't answer yes to
Don't
these
answer
questions,
yeah.
I'm doing the same thing. So the sense I'm getting from the board is
No.
just take out any yes or no.
Yes, take them both out, and if they
if they answer yes.
they leave it blank, they
no.
leave it blank. And then, I mean, what, you would, if they put yes there, would you not let them go for the special exception?
If they answered the question in a way that I told them not to, I would say you are not meeting the criteria for a special exception, so your only option is to, not go forward or to apply to the zoning board for a variance to the criteria of a special exception, which now you get the 5 criteria that you have to meet.
Well, I think it's more honest than telling them, like, giving them the answer to the test.
Agreed.
Basically telling them.
I
if you
guess
have
we're all
to, you
pretty,
have to
as long
lie
as
on
we're
this
all,
form.
or the majority of us are.
No,
All
you're
right.
right.
Right, and again, just so you know, residents do come in feeling overwhelmed by the process. So that was the
Absolutely.
intent of, doing that like that.
Exactly, it just, yeah.
I have no
I
problem
can-
changing it.
If everybody that came in front of the board was honest and diligent, then I wouldn't worry about it, but. All right, nothing else? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to end this evening's ZBA meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned.